Here's our lesson 22 drill sheet, and I have the answer key up here if we need to ask specific questions about that. I'll put the blank sheet up and we can work any examples we need to from it. Okay, so what questions do you have on the drill sheet first of all? So let's look at numbers 1 and 2 here. Number 1, I have pakod ha'ish. Pakod ha'ish. So look at the form here. In and of itself, could pakod be a cal infinitive construct? It could, right? In and of itself, could pakod be a cal imperative? Yes. Okay? So notice that both of these forms are identical to each other, aren't they? So I've given you that this first one's the infinitive construct. The second one is the cal imperative. Notice that there's a difference here, not in the form, but in how the form is interrelating with other words. Here, pakod is in a construct chain in number 1. It's in a construct chain. So what I have is thing 1 and thing 2 in the first example, thing 1, thing 2. It's the act of visiting of the man, or the man's act of visiting. Okay, so that's why I'm taking this as an infinitive construct here. On the other hand, in the second one, I have a form that looks like it could be an infinitive construct or an imperative, but now I have an explicit or an overt direct object. And with that direct object marker, I'm inclined to go with this as an imperative, and it's a command, visit the man. Okay? It's not a construct chain for sure. So I'm taking this not as functioning as a noun, as an infinitive construct. Remember, infinitive construct is a verbal noun. I'm taking it as functioning as a true verb. In this case, if it's a true verb, it's the imperative form. Now, I'm going to put 2ms over here in the person, gender, number box because imperatives inherently have second masculine singular personal endings. Okay? Notice that for number 1, the infinitive construct is unmarked for person, gender, number because they don't have any of those things. So I'm going to leave that blank because there's no inherent person, gender, number marking for the infinitive construct. All right, so I've just explained that, but maybe there's a question here. What question do you have, or do you have one? Okay, great. Let's just real quickly take a look at number 4 here. Here I have poke Danny. Poke Danny. This is my poke pattern, which is an infinitive construct pattern when I add a pronominal suffix. You see my pronominal suffix here. Poke Danny. Poke Danu. So what is this? This is a cal infinitive construct. I want you to abbreviate the infinitive construct as INFC. And we're going to use the C here because when we get to the next chapter, we're going to learn something called the infinitive absolute, and we're going to put an A where the C is for our abbreviation. Now, look at the nu. Is the nu a personal ending nu, or is it a pronominal suffix nu? It is a pronominal suffix. So this is going to be really important here. Look at what I'm about to do. When I have an infinitive construct, these are not inherently marked for person, gender, number. So when I add a pronoun to it, I have to add the plus sign. And then I add the pronominal suffix label. Okay? What this plus sign is telling me is that it is optional to add the pronominal suffix to it. Okay? I do not have to mark infinitive constructs with pronominal suffix. I don't have to add those. But if I have an imperative, is there such a thing as an imperative that doesn't have a person, gender, number? No. Every imperative must have a person, gender, number. That's why I'm not putting plus 2ms here. 2ms is part of the imperative conjugation. But when I add plus 1cp suffix, what that's telling me and you is that adding a first person plural pronominal suffix is optional. I could have an infinitive construct without it, without any suffix. Okay? When I add the lamed preposition to code here, as I did here, so this is the cal infinitive construct, notice that I have put plus preposition lamed because what that's indicating is that the lamed is something I've added that is optionally added. It does not have to be there. And I would translate that as to or in order to visit. All right? Okay. Look at poke D, so this is number 6, versus pick D, number 7. Poke D, pick D, poke D, pick D. We know that these are pakad. We won't write those over again. But what's the difference between these two? If I have a kametz ketuf here, followed by a kirik yod at the end, what am I looking at? That's an infinitive construct. Yes. So it's a cal infinitive construct. So what is the kirik yod at the end of an infinitive construct? It's a pronominal suffix. Does the pronominal suffix absolutely have to be there? Nope. So I am going to put plus first common singular suffix. All right? And so how am I going to translate that? It's going to be something like my act of visiting. Okay? Now, on the other hand, I have pick D. When I have a kirik here, what is that telling me about my conjugation pattern? It's the imperative. And which imperative has a kirik yod ending? To FS. Now look, the 2FS personal ending is part and parcel of the imperative here. If I have an imperative, I have to have a personal ending, so I don't put the plus sign. It's just cal imperative 2FS. The you feminine singular is who I'm addressing here. And so I'm going to translate this as an imperative. Visit, and that's addressed to a woman. Okay? So it's really important that you be able to tell the difference between these two. Let me have you look at Shema versus Shemoah. Shema versus Shemoah. One of these is the infinitive construct and one of them is the imperative. Which is which? Number 8, is that the infinitive or the imperative? Okay, so number 8 is the imperative. How do I know that's the imperative? Yeah, it's the vowel pointing. Okay? The imperfect is yishma, tishma, tishma, tishma'i, eshma. Chop off the head, I'm left with shema. Okay? That's the imperative. With no ending, it's the imperative 2ms. Hear, as in, hear, O Israel. Okay? Look at Shemoah. vocal shiva, but a holum instead of the expected patah. That tells me it's the cal infinitive construct. Do infinitive construct forms have any person, gender, number? Nope. So I'm going to leave that blank. And I can translate that as to hear, right? Because I'm not referring to any specific person's hearing, to hear, or the act of hearing. All right? Does that make sense? Yes, that is a furtive patah. Shemoa. Shemoa. Sounds like my favorite Girl Scout cookies, by the way. You know what those are? Those are called Samoas. Oh, those are good. All right. Yeah. When you're selling Samoas, I hear. Yes, I hear the sirens call. Yes.
Sorry, it's kind of like Huntsville. My brain's tired and it's struggling to remember. Why does the furtive patah show up there again?
Yeah, just as a review, I get furtive patahs at the end of, so I'll put FP here for furtive patah, okay? Well, here, furtive patah. They come at the end of the word, okay? When the guttural is a strong guttural, ayin, chet, and hey, and if before that there is a long vowel, okay? When that happens, this furtive patah sneaks in. Some of the words you've learned, the word for spirit is ruach, and that's a chet, long vowel before, it gets a furtive patah. Ruach, ruach. Remember, the furtive patah is always pronounced right before the guttural. Noah is Noach. No, that really could be a whole involved. We'll go ahead and put that there. So Noach. Okay? So that's why that's in there. Yep, you're welcome. All right, I have about 9 minutes left. Let's look at the translation homework for 22. Okay. So we have my answer key here for chapter 22. Did I ask you to do any of these section A parts? Well, aren't you lucky? Okay, so we have translations from the translation part. Let me grab the Ross chapter page and look at the Hebrew text. And I know that there are a few questions here, so let me have them. Number 1. All right. You got it. Let's do it. Okay. So look, I have Vayhi, WCI or WCP? WCI. Tells me it's past. That's the function. This is a discourse marker to set the time frame as past. Don't translate it. Go straight to the next word and begin translating with past time semantics. B, mots, am. Do you see 3 root letters for a verb anywhere here? Matzah. Matzah means to find. There is a bet preposition in front. There is a pronominal suffix on the back. How do we want to translate the bet? When. So we're going to say when. Now we're going to use the pronoun for the subject. When who? This is 3MP. So when they. Now am I going to use past, present, or future if I have a Vayhi prefix or preceding? I'm going to use past. So when they found. Literally, in the finding of them, okay, in their finding, but I want to translate it as a temporal idea. When they found, otho, when they found what? When they found him. There's my pronominal suffix with the direct object marker. When they found him, and then I have another WCI form, I don't want to translate the and here. When they found him, they what? This is Bahar with the Yod and a Shurik. They chose. Yeah, that's right. This is the verb to choose, but as a WCI, it's going to be past. They chose. Now look here, I have a bet plus a 3ms pronoun. Do I translate the bet when I have Bahar as my verb? No, I don't. So Bahar ba means to choose whatever the bet's attached to. So they chose him. Le Melech. They chose him. You could say for king. The idea being for the purpose. And in English, we would tend to say they chose him as king. Okay? And then this is giving the spatial realm all plus a pronoun, and all takes the community pronouns. That's why there's a yod here. To be king where? Over them. To be king over them. Or they chose him for king or as king over them. All right? Is that okay?
So the who, the vote, that's what I didn't understand. Why didn't we translate?
Yeah.
The bed and the who.
What we learn when we learn the verb bahar is that the direct object of bahar occurs attached to the bet preposition. You don't translate the bet when that happens. So Bahar b'David means he chose David. So who you choose will have a bet attached to it. So here it's they chose Bo, they chose him. Don't translate the bet. Okay? How many of you have taken Greek before? All right. You know that when you have a direct object in Greek, what case is it in most of the time? What case is the direct object in? I know, this is quite a switch, isn't it? But what case? You have nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, right? Direct objects are usually accusative. But if you don't know this, you will learn it soon. Some verbs take their direct objects not in the accusative case, but in the genitive case, or even sometimes the dative case. What are you going to do when you translate it? You're still going to translate it as if it were accusative, even though it's in a slightly different case. And the same thing here. You would normally expect your direct object to have an et and not a b, right? You would expect he chose Bahar et David. But in some verbs, we're going to mark the direct object with a bet and not an et. But you're still not going to translate the bet, just like you don't translate the et. He chose David. Bahar b'David. Okay? All right. Anybody else have another one real quickly they want to look at? Number 7. Take a look there. I have v'haya, WCI or WCP? WCP. So this is going to be future and not past. Okay, so don't translate it. We want to go straight to the prepositional phrase. Here's my preposition, acharei, which means what? After. And look, I have shochnam. Shochnam. This is like poke de. This is my infinitive construct with a pronominal suffix. Okay? Which pronoun is this? The is 3MP. So how am I going to translate this? It's going to be future in orientation. After they shakan. What is that? After they dwell, Bamidbar, in where? In the wilderness. Good. So after they dwell in the wilderness, future time, V'zavachu. Here I have what looks like a perfect with a 3CP personal ending, but I also have a Vav in front, and I started with a WCP. So this is probably a WCP form, and that's going to be future as well. So after they dwell in the wilderness, they will zavach. They will what? Sacrifice. Lelohehem. Lamed prep to Elohim with a pronoun suffix attached. Which pronoun is this? It's 3MP. They will sacrifice to their. Now, this is either one god or many gods. You see the yod? That tells you that this is plural Elohim, but can Elohim be singular in sense? Yes. So this is probably their God, if it's especially referring to the God of Israel. Okay? So after they dwell in the wilderness, they will sacrifice to their God. If it's talking about a bunch of pagans, maybe to their gods. All right? Let me just point out number 2. Number 2, we have chafatznu, is we were pleased or we delighted, and then I have lishmor. What use of the lamed plus infinitive construct is this? Is it purpose, epexegetical, or complementary? It's complementary. We delighted to keep, or we were pleased to keep et Torot Adonai, the commandments, or the laws of Yahweh. Okay? So this is not purpose. It's not we were pleased for the purpose of doing something. It's just that we were pleased to do something. Okay?